Now, what's up, everyone on YouTube and LinkedIn, or anybody who's watching on the internet? This is the Burning Numbers podcast, back with you, your two hosts, myself, Josh, and Numayr, Malik here. We're going to be talking about coronavirus, what sort of impact it's had on society, on the economy, on the health system. According to the BBC News from the 11th of November, they updated that the deaths within the last 28 days, the deaths who are confirmed within 28 days of after having the positive test is 55,230 in the UK. And the redundancies for the past 3 months from the same time, 10th of November, is about 314k redundancies. So, Numayr, take it away. What do you think about this?
It's obviously a really crap situation that we're in right now, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the main issues that is happening right now is that people are like debating whether it's a conspiracy or not. I'm surely the deaths that are coming through show like the BS that's happening through, and it's like I don't understand why people are so against like what the government say.
What's the most crazy conspiracy you've heard so far?
Huh?
What's the most craziest conspiracy?
The craziest conspiracy I heard so far is that the government released this virus to avoid overpopulation. That's the craziest one I heard.
To avoid overpopulation?
Yeah. So
okay.
to kill a certain number of the population.
Okay, and so did these people that come up with it have any like statistics of exactly how much?
They have Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I think my craziest one was basically this whole thing similar to yours is it's all released by the government, and the idea is to have control. So if they have coronavirus, and the idea like the vaccines are coming out, and then the government's got like Bill Gates on the side, and it's like the owners of the world, the rich people are doing this. And the idea is that everybody's got coronavirus, it's going to kill you. And so they tell you need to take a vaccine. And then then the vaccine controls and changes your DNA.
Okay.
For some reason, I'm not sure why they think they want to change your DNA, but they change your DNA because they think that that's how a vaccine works. And they don't want to, so the conspiracy theorists don't want to change your DNA. But yeah.
How are you feeling about the vaccine anyway, though, to be fair?
The vaccine? It's a vaccine, isn't it? For me, like all these conspiracy theorists are saying, this vaccine is what's going to like control us, and then they're putting bloody nano chips in us and all this sort of shit. But I think it's kind of silly, because if they wanted to do something, they're going to do it with all the vaccines that since childhood, chickenpox, not chickenpox, you get immune to that. Sorry. The other vaccines that we get.
Yeah, like our yearly flu jabs.
Exactly. So why would they fully create a vaccine and then create the coronavirus to make everybody take the vaccine when they could just be putting it into something that's already done and everybody's
more
comfortable with? Go on.
On a side note, what I want to say is Pfizer and the vaccine is a perfect example about how capitalism does work.
What's that?
I wanted to say how we spoke about capitalism, socialism and stuff.
Yeah.
Pfizer and the vaccine creation is a perfect example of how capitalism is a benefit to society.
Explain.
Because the one thing Pfizer is going to get out of this vaccine, and they're going to get a lot of.
Who's Pfizer?
Pfizer are the people that created the vaccine.
You know, there's a lot of people creating lots of different vaccines, right?
Yeah, but these are the first people to create an official vaccine.
Okay.
And they won, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won.
Yeah.
Because they're the first people to come out with it, and one of the main things they had behind them is they're going to get a lot of money behind it.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about it recently. I was like, it's a perfect example of how capitalism actually worked.
Yeah.
Because it motivated them to create a vaccine, and now the world has a vaccine. The world has a vaccine.
Yeah, and they think that the fact that the vaccine has come along so quickly, they think that's kind of like evidence towards the fact that they've originally created this, and they say vaccines, they take like 20 years to come into all this stuff. And I think it gets a bit dramatic with the time periods, but the amount of money they're putting into this vaccine in comparison to the others is ridiculous. The amount of
But
different
the
people
reason
working on it all
everyone's
around the world.
the reason everyone's talking about, oh, it's taking this much time, all of this rubbish, right? It's because usually for these trials, it takes people have to apply for funding, they have to go through the ethics side of things, and all of that builds up time. Whereas for this vaccine, they didn't have to do any of that. All of that was provided.
Yeah.
So they were able to streamline through.
Of course. Yeah.
So it was a fairly decent amount of time.
I think it's crazy. And I think just generally, if you see, I saw some videos on like YouTube or Facebook, whatever, but basically bodies being taken out of a hospital, thrown into a truck, pretty much on the principle that all these people are dying and you don't have a system in place to get rid of all the bodies. Like usually, and I worked as a funeral director for 2 weeks, usually the funeral director will come after the body has been, the autopsy has taken place, and then they take the body out in a coffin. And then
yeah, but like the way people have been treated around these days is there's been so many different kinds of ways. Like I'm from Pakistan originally, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like I heard people in Pakistan saying like, oh, don't go to the hospital, they're gonna inject you with COVID-19.
I've heard the same thing. I got some friends at work from Sri Lanka, and some of them telling me that they've had, what's the most common, like, not polio, like something else.
Is it? No, it's not cholera. Cholera is the water one.
I
I
don't
know
know,
what you're
but
talking about.
some mad
Carry
shit that
Yeah.
like turns you green or something like that, right? And these Asian people, and they're telling me about this.
Jaundice.
Huh?
Is it jaundice?
I'm not sure, but yeah, they're telling me
Alright,
about this,
go
and
on.
they're like, this guy, he's like 40 something now, and he's saying that he's had this when he's a kid, so he's not worried about getting this coronavirus, right? But he fully believes that he's not going to get it because he's not going to go to the hospital, and the same stuff as you're saying. But then all these people are, I'm not saying just the conspiracy theories are doing this, but all these people that don't believe it's going to have a big effect on them, they're not taking the precautions needed to actually stop it from spreading.
Yeah.
What do you think about like us as a community and like how we're maybe participating or not participating in the stop of it spreading?
The community, like the numbers are there to show you that the community currently is like the amount of cases happening every day are insane numbers, like higher than ever before. Like before we were in lockdown over like when it was like 4 to 5 cases a day. We're currently hitting 30,000. Like I think it peaked at 33,000 cases a day. That's insane. And I don't understand how, like, I feel like the cases have gone up, but the fear of coronavirus has gone down.
Well, from as of the 20th of November, the government website is currently saying that the daily people tested positive is 15,000. And we're looking
15,
to come out of lockdown in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
That's...
And it also does depend though, because I get why we're coming out of lockdown was because different areas in the country have different amount of cases. So like in London will probably be in a relative lockdown still because it's still it's a dense population. It'll probably be in the tier 3 category. But if you go to other places like somewhere in the countryside where there's not much happening, like there aren't many cases, so and people there are adhering to the rules. It's somewhat unfair to keep them in a national lockdown as well.
Yeah, but I think that the acting and the restrictions needs to take place before the numbers actually hit, like anywhere. For example, right at the beginning, when everything was going on in Eastern Europe, starting in America, all over Asia, then we had like almost no cases at all, right? But then that's the point in which we need a lockdown, because that's the part where we stop it from actually spreading. When we say, we'll lock down when it gets to, let's say 20,000 cases. Yeah. And then you got 20,000 cases, but maybe half of them, pulling statistics straight out from the air here, but maybe half of them have not got symptoms within the first week and they get it within the second week, right? So if you get coronavirus today and you don't have symptoms in the next 3 days, then you can go pass it to anybody, right? And so if you don't have restrictions, whether we think that your area has or has not got coronavirus, you should also be restricted, because that's what's going to prevent it.
But so the issue that the lockdown brings, which you probably definitely know, is that the economy dies, it like withers, like slowly.
Yeah, the
Right?
economy contracts.
So
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand the fact that they should wait for cases to show. Like in August, there was no cases showing, and it was like, yeah, fair enough. Like people can go back to work, people can do everything that happens at work. But then as soon as cases rise, but the thing is, I think the government were too late. They were too late to start. Like cases were already at like 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
At a time, and then they waited till they waited like maybe a couple of weeks, I think it was. Like putting off the Google statistic, October 4th, there was 22,000 new cases apparently.
October the 4th.
Our lockdown started in 4th of November. That's a month before. And in my head, that is way too late.
Yeah, that is crazy. Do you think this government, I don't know what you know about other countries, but do you think this government is just acting really, really slowly with everything?
I think they are acting way too slowly with any other thing. Because like if you look at, so the reason I know at these countries is because my friends are like currently live in these countries.
Yeah.
So like I know in Hong Kong, as soon as they reach like not even a K cases, they're instant, like they'll stricten up the rules, everything straight away.
Yeah.
In South Korea, what happened was everything was fine, but then one person but the one stupid thing they did was they opened up places like clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as soon as they realized their mistake, they didn't wait. They didn't try to back themselves up for why they did this. They just straight away went into lockdown again because they realized the cases went up by like 700, 800. Whereas the UK are waiting for the cases to go up by 20,000. Wait a month.
To
be
consider.
like, they're like, oh, maybe we should go into lockdown.
Do you think it's, obviously we've had conspiracy theories, we've got other people like you and I talking about it. There's a couple of conversations out there that are saying along the lines that we should just let it just go, let everybody get it, and then you're going to get herd immunity at some point, and then it's kind of just going to fade. What do you think about that?
It's like herd immunity it's like, if you think about it in the long run, it sounds all right. It's like, oh yeah, everyone gets it, but then surely you want to lessen the amount of deaths possible.
Yeah.
Because at this point, that means you're just giving it to 100% of the population. Even if what's the percentage of people that usually, like, what's the percentage of people that have been dying from it?
Percentage of people dying from it.
50,000 out of 1.5 million. So it's like the 0.5%, I guess. The 0.3% of people who die. That's still a lot of the population dying.
But then I think you have to consider, what is the chances that, look, we're just kind of going into winter now. What's the chances that this is just going to continue? Maybe even it starts mutating into something else, but it's going to keep on going on. And so I guess we're kind of waiting for a vaccine, but providing that hasn't come yet, people need to become immune to it, right? And it's just going to keep on going on and on and on. We can do lockdown after lockdown after lockdown, and then we're still back to square one. Like you said, in August it went down really low.
We currently have a vaccine on the way.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is no the good side behind herd immunity is if you can't find a vaccine, you can't find a cure for it, you just let it happen in one go and it goes through, right? But there's a vaccine to help people avoid it, and I don't see the issue within that, which is like, I don't think the UK or the world needs to try go for herd immunity when you have that.
The vaccine on its way,
yeah.
I think it's like an original idea at the beginning of maybe getting but herd immunity takes a higher percentage of population. Like, I don't even think an amount of probably less than 5% of the population has even had coronavirus in the UK. So if you're getting herd immunity like post 50%, then that's a lot of people that's going to die. Especially if you said,
like,
what was the percentage of people dying?
So if it's so just calculate it, 55,000 over 0.3%. It looks like no 3%. 3%.
3% of people dying.
3% of people dying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a big number. Like obviously it doesn't sound like 3%, but that's a significant number. If you do 3% of the world's population, I mean of the UK's population, which is I can't do the mathematics right now.
It's because you're not a master's in physics student.
I will be soon. Don't worry. That's almost 200,000 people.
200,000 people dead. That's crazy. What was the Ebola?
Ebola.
How many people died to Ebola? Oh, 11,000.
11,000.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like on the news.
Ebola was very
savage,
concentrated as well in the in Africa, and it was a very the difference between Ebola and coronavirus is insanely easy to catch. Like, you literally just have to stand within certain radius of a person.
But the thing is with Ebola, people die within a few days of actually catching it. So there's
Ebola,
less
as soon as you
time
have
for it to spread.
You're basically dead.
Yeah, which means there's less time for it to spread as well. So a coronavirus is like a high spreading disease virus with a fairly low mortality rate. It's not killing as many people, but that means it allows it to spread more, which means the percentage of people that it then infects to be able to then kill is higher. Hence why we have a higher thing.
I think everyone always talks about the mortality rate, but the true scary nature of the virus is the fact that it's so easily spreadable. That's the thing. Like, that's the example I gave in South Korea, which was like how many people died. Not died. Sorry, that one they opened up clubs, and that one person spread it to like 500 people.
Yeah.
In that one night.
Yeah.
One went to 500.
Yeah.
So then I don't think people are taking that seriously enough.
Yeah, I think you know how it's like you can think of it like a compound effect, and you can see for anybody who wants to learn anything about like investing or just like building up something and compounding, coronavirus is a very good example for that, right? Like, you can have one person, like you just said, in South Korea, they get it and they can like that just builds and builds and builds, and that one person spreads it to 200 people in a club, and another 200 people go home to their families, that then goes to their friends, and then it just builds up. Yeah, it's crazy. These numbers shoot up so much. What do you think?
You spoke about compounding. What is compound? What do you talk about compounding?
Compounding is like when something happens which creates something else, and that something else then goes on to create more of what it is, right? So in money, you can invest £100 into an account, and let's say you get 10% interest. That £10 interest then goes on to create more interest, right? So that's the best kind of long-term way to build up wealth.
Kind of like stacking up the Legos.
Exactly, yeah. But imagine those Legos are also building up as well.
I see.
Yeah. So
fair.
I think that's a good example to like kind of get your head around that. But what do you think about this? How the economy is coping? Because right now it's a struggle. I'm seeing loads and loads of people on LinkedIn that are just they've got that new green design saying that they're looking for a job or something. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that around on especially on LinkedIn. That's what I've seen. Like a lot of people. One of the things is because I'm currently a final year student, and one thing that I'm hearing between everyone's worried about, which is, am I gonna get a job? Am I gonna get a job after I graduate?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the scariest things that is happening across like unis in general, which is like all students and people are getting laid off as well. So then like unemployment is just like,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it's savage. I think
it's a bit of a hard time for people who are looking to get employed.
Yeah, I think obviously the economy for a lot of different areas. If we just talk about hospitality sector, for example, right? You've got all of these retail shops. You've got all of these restaurants, pubs, bars, clubs. Clubs is not kind of retail, but hospitality really. But all of these places are all closing, right? So loads of people are made redundant. Obviously, I work for Pizza Express. I've seen probably more than 100 stores closing, and that goes from just like waitresses, chefs, all the way up to restaurant managers. And before even those got cut, we had like operation managers being cut. So these are people that have been in the company like 20 years experience. Now you have an economy with a lot less jobs because the economy is contracted, and then you've got now an even larger amount of people with a ton of experience now applying for all these jobs. So people like all of the teenagers that are already finding it difficult in today's economy, that they don't have jobs available or they find that difficult because of lack of experience, are now going and competing against all these other people that have just been made redundant. So it kind of becomes like this crazy, it almost like a economical survival of the fittest. And so the people that have done the best and had the most experience in life, in their job, is now. Are you back? Hey,
I'm back.
awesome. Yeah, so all these people that have all the experience are then going to come out on top, right? And just going to keep on gaining more and more experience. Whereas all these other people like yourself, you're going to come out of uni, a shit ton of debt, no experience, and you're probably going to find it a struggle.
Yeah, like so I know the way that students generally get jobs at the moment are grad schemes and things like that. So we're currently, I think some students are saved in that sense, but companies are less willing to go through for these grad schemes and are offering less places because the economy is so contracted that they can't afford to give as many jobs as before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think also the sorry, go on.
I'm saying like that's the one thing. Like for a lot of roles that are being made redundant are also like senior roles, to be fair, because those are the most high paying. Also, those are the ones like if you think about a restructuring program, those are the ones you want to lay off the most. The most income. That's the money you'll save the most as a company.
Yeah.
So it will be hard for people to go back, but I don't think there's the change isn't between like who's got the most experience, but it's the amount that it's available. Because I feel like everyone will go.
It's like you got a pond of fish, right? And there's always been not enough fish to feed the bigger fish, right? Or there's not enough fish to feed the shark. And all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of bigger sharks coming along, but you've also got a lot less fish in there already. And so all of these big sharks are going to kill off the smaller ones, and then you're going to have this huge imbalance and issue with the pond, right? I think, like you were saying, all of these higher people are being laid off because there's more money, but also because the people that are in the lower jobs, let's say, for example, like a restaurant, so you got the operations managers being made redundant, the people that are running the restaurant, and actually waitresses, they're probably more safe because they're actually making their money, right, for the business, rather than like operation needs. Yeah, I think.
So you said you're working at Pizza. You're working at Pizza Express. Who were the first people to like start being made redundant? Was it the operations managers, or was it the restaurant managers? Was it the waitress or waiters?
Yeah, well, I think so. We had obviously the first lockdown in March, and then they had to go under administration. So they did a whole lot of restructuring and all that, and that allowed, when a company goes under administration, it means that the agreements for the property that they're renting, so the landlords, the agreement between them is able to be rediscussed despite any contract that's previously made. As far as I'm aware, that's how it works. And so we had a lot of landlords that are probably also scared because of the coronavirus. They want to increase their pay or potentially get a different company in that seems more sustainable during post-COVID society. And so they say, we're increasing your rent to Pizza Express, and Pizza Express says, well, we can't afford that. And so they close the restaurant. So I think lots of restaurants got closed, and therefore across the whole board, people got made redundant. But right at the same time, they don't have all the money to pay all the staff, and they need to pay for people on the new furlough scheme that came out. And so they restructured all of their operations managers. So we had like, the country was split up into like, I think at least like 8 different sections. And then that got restructured down into 5. And then it spread between less people. So less people are doing more work, technically. And then I know the Pizza Express didn't have any like pay rises this year. They just completely cut that. I know people from like View Cinema, every single person had to take a pay cut, whether you're from like store manager or not. So yeah, I think it's hitting across everywhere. And the government is in crazy amount of debt, right? Like how much debt is the government in?
I don't think we want to know.
Well, I know they had
I remember John Lewis there was a news article on John Lewis not providing pay rises for the first time in like 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Because of all this COVID-19 situation going on.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What are you feeling about like how are you feeling? What are you feeling about, the difference between the first lockdown and the second lockdown? It's quite huge. Like because sometimes I started going to uni because my uni doesn't love me, which is like so like, and I'm comparing the first lockdown and the second lockdown.
Yeah.
The second lockdown doesn't feel like there's a lockdown going on outside. Like I go out and there's just people chilling outside.
There's so many people, yeah. And I was talking to someone else the other day about it, and during the first lockdown, loads of people they were scared. They were scared about coronavirus, right? Because it's new.
Mm-hmm.
They see people dying all over the news. They see what's happening to other countries, and we haven't experienced it before. So first lockdown, at the beginning, if you wanted to go to the shops, you had to wait an hour to get into all the shops, right? And everybody's wearing face masks properly. Everybody's wearing gloves. Everybody's using sanitize their hands, trolleys, baskets, absolutely everything. People will come home with the shopping and start sanitizing that, which is wonderful, and that helps quite a lot. But now, none of that. You just bloody walk into the shop now. You don't have to wear anything. Nobody's forcing you to do anything, and nothing ever matters. And people don't wear the mask.
I like how all
properly.
The laws are like, all the laws are like, you have to wear this in public transport, shops, all of that kind of stuff. And then you go to like I'm on the Hammersmith and City Line train.
Yeah.
And then these men are everyone's just chilling out, like having fun. There's I think there's the rule, which is like you can't be out. You can only meet one other person outside.
Yeah.
And even then it's meant to be for exercise. I'm seeing groups of like 20 chilling at the park having a beer.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
It's insane.
I think if we was to tackle this coronavirus, it really needs to come down to us individually. We can't be like, I think most people are like, but this person doesn't do this and this person doesn't do this. Almost like we've just done just now. All these people were meeting up at the park drinking bitters, but everybody needs to really look at themselves and say, what do I do that could be helping the society?
I think the problem is, as a society, the society hasn't come together to do something together.
Yeah.
It's like you have people like protesting like, I'm anti-mask and all of this kind of stuff, and they're going out and protest. There's like people going against those guys saying like, what the F's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then you have like, it's like everything's, and the one thing I realized, this is the one thing in America I realized especially, everything becomes a movement.
Everybody wants a movement. Yeah.
Everything becomes a movement.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Not in all cases, especially in this case right now. Which is like, we acknowledge the coronavirus is happening right now, but we're still going to go on a protest.
Protest against coronavirus. Yeah, coronavirus doesn't care, man. But a lot of these people are going against, like, protesting against the government, and it makes me kind of giggle to myself because in general, lots of people disagree with the government, or they think this person is stupid, or look at how much like harassment almost that Boris Johnson's got. Everybody like thinks he's done this wrong, done this wrong, done this wrong. But these people go through the top parts of our society. They go through our education systems that we put in place. We teach them with our teachers. They come from our parents, and then eventually, when they've got enough experience and gray hairs on their head, we elect them. We have no right to actually say, oh, this person is bad at this, bad at this, bad at this, whatever. They are in a 10 times better place to be doing the position that they're in compared to like the likes of me and you. And they're actually doing it. Like, think about Boris Johnson, the shit that he's had to deal with. And he probably didn't sign up to actually deal with this, right? I think he's done amazing. I tip my hat off to Boris Johnson, honestly.
I wouldn't say I don't think he's done amazing to be per se, but I don't think he's done particularly bad. Because I think everyone's giving him more shit than what he deserves.
Yeah, but just think about it. You've got to juggle the economy, people's lives, and then everybody who wants to criticize. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be criticized, right?
Yeah, he's going to be criticized for whatever he does.
Yeah,
like, we criticized him today, which was like, we think he waited too long to put us in lockdown.
Exactly, yeah. But then other people, and we say, oh, waited too long to put us in lockdown. And then we talk about all the people who got made redundant because of lockdown, right? Or like,
surely that's a democratic right for society to do.
Yeah, of course, and I think that's great. But a lot of people are negatively making this guy look really bad, or he's not good at his job. When actually, most people in their jobs, no matter what job it is, they're stressed, right? They can't deal with pressure. If a customer comes to McDonald's and they start shouting at somebody in McDonald's, it's not nice, and it's likely that that employee is going to go and cry, right? If they're not able to have one person shouting at them, imagine hordes of people or social media memes about you being a twat all over the internet, right?
Yeah, no,
the amount of pressure that this guy's
true.
got to deal with, it's immense, and he's just doing it.
The one thing I feel bad about Boris Johnson is he's been put in this situation, which is like, because obviously you've got the Brexit situation happening, you've got COVID-19 happening. Like, the Brexit situation was from before him, right? Like, he got put into that situation. COVID-19, like, what is he gonna do, right?
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's also the one thing about our prime minister that people want is clarity and confidence, and I think people are just scared.
Yeah.
Generally, as a society, and it's like, let's put it this way. It's like, let's think about Trump and Obama, right?
Yeah.
Trump and Obama, like, let's say, this is a controversial thing, but I don't think they did much different to each other.
In the sense of
like,
what?
in terms of like, I think nationally there was a big difference, but like in terms of like international laws and stuff, I don't think they did much different. But the one difference between Obama and Trump was Obama is well spoken. He has charisma. He has confidence, and he makes people feel good. And that's why people's confidence were with him. And you have Trump talking.
I think we're going on to a completely different topic here.
Yeah. No, but I'm just my example that I'm going for in terms of actually no, let me make a UK example. Let's compare David Cameron and Boris.
Where did this guy disappear off to?
And before the situation with David Cameron, the guy has charisma. The guy was confident, and when you heard him speak, you believed what he was saying.
Yeah.
But in the end, they're both too conservative players.
Yeah.
And then Boris Johnson doesn't give that sense of security.
Well, we had David Cameron,
and that's the reason people are going onto this guy.
Yeah. We had David Cameron, and then we went on to this whole Brexit idea, and then David Cameron went goodbye. From my understanding of the situation, and then Boris Johnson come into place now.
It was Theresa May, then Boris Johnson.
Yeah. I forgot about her. Yeah. How long ago was that?
I think everyone. Everyone forgot about Theresa May.
I think everybody's forgotten about everybody because this whole coronavirus and all the cameras on Boris Johnson pretty much all the time now, isn't it? You know what? This coronavirus,
Yeah,
this is the first time that I've seen almost like the majority of people actually sitting down and watching a government announcement. And like,
I know.
that's
It's like
crazy.
the entire world is like the entire world's on BBC News, waiting for
yeah, for the
waiting for
first
this
time ever
announcement to happen.
on BBC News. And you know, in when you watch like movies and all of the channels change from one thing to another, and then you got this like dictator telling you what's going to happen, and they're going to blow you up and all this sort of stuff. I felt like that sort of situation back in March. Like, we were sitting around the table, and every single one of us on our own bloody phones are watching Boris Johnson speak to the nation, telling us we're going to go on lockdown. That's crazy, man. That experience.
Yeah, I'd literally I'd be doing work or something. I'd just pause it, like, what's Boris Johnson going to say today?
Yeah.
Every day at like 8 p.m.
That's a good thing. I think that gets a lot more people involved with like just general politics, general what's actually happening in the world or what's happening to the UK. I'm hoping that kind of brings up a different amount of people that are actually voting. Like, you had a lot of people not voting in the Brexit, and look how that turned out. What's going to actually happen next?
Funny thing is, like, people would be complaining about the Brexit situation after not voting.
Yeah.
I was like, you, like, whoever did this to themselves, you know?
Yeah. Okay. What do you think about Brexit?
Huh?
What do you think about Brexit in terms of like, if you did vote or didn't vote, do you have the right to complain?
I think if you didn't, I don't think people have the right to complain just because of the idea that the majority of the population chose to do so. It was
you're like a fully democratic. If the democracy's voted, then it's fine, right?
If the democracy, well, I wouldn't say it's fine because obviously I don't like PSC. I don't agree. I voted no Brexit.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can complain too much because the majority of the population chose it. And then the people who, especially in my head, that don't deserve to complain are people who didn't vote.
Yeah.
Because in that sense, if they were going to vote no vote Brexit, they aided Brexit happening.
Yeah. But then you need to actually cast a vote for all the people that don't vote to kind of find out if they actually had any effect at all. Yeah, I think you don't really have. I don't know, because if you don't vote, then you participate in it. I think the system. I don't know. I've heard a lot of things in the past where like the system's rigged, and it doesn't matter if you vote or not. And when we go to vote, we're voting on people like we're choosing the lesser of evils, right? Like we don't actually think, this person's great.
The lesser of two evils.
Sorry?
Yeah. Well, we're usually generally choosing a lesser of two evils, to be fair.
Yeah. And so the only way that you can kind of disrupt this whole, because this happening, like it's happened for as long as like most people can remember. We're always choosing the lesser of two evils, but then everybody keeps on going and voting. What happened if nobody went and voted? That wouldn't take away democracy. There wouldn't be like, okay, we're taking away democracy because nobody's voting. That is like the definition of democracy. Everybody has just chosen not to vote. And so, okay, it's not like we're not going to vote. It's we don't want to vote for you and we don't want to vote for you. So give us somebody else to pick. Like, give us somebody who actually believes in what the majority of people believe. But I've seen personally, I know people that have just gone and like, regardless of their actual understanding and knowledge of the politics and what's actually being said, they're just voting on anybody or who looks the best or what their parents have said.
I think, one of them, I was just about to say that. One of the main things that I see is people generally vote. A lot of people who don't know about politics generally just vote on what their friends and family think.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, who's convinced them the most out of their friends and family? They haven't actually really gone and tried to look. But it's a hard one, that one, which is like, who do you have? If you don't know, do you have right to vote? because I think was
That's
it Jordan
interesting,
Peterson
yeah.
who was like only intelligent people should vote, and in my head I was like, what a dumb thing to say.
Yeah, that's a
Which
harsh
is
thing to
like to
say.
just take away people's right to vote.
But then you
And
have
how
to
do
have
you
some sort of realism to it. For example, you wouldn't, because democracy is putting the actions of the country in the hands of every single person, right? But uh, we don't allow children under the age of 16 to vote, and so then are you taking away their right to vote? I mean, they're still human. Okay, let's say you're a month before 16, you can't vote, and a month later you can. Why is your ability to make a good decision for the whole country better a month later after you're 16, right? But then you have the whole idea, okay, but when are you going to actually choose the cutoff point? Agreed.
Yeah.
But then why don't you choose a different cutoff point apart from like age? Why can't it be like you need to have a certain level of understanding? Okay, go take a test on politics, or show that you've actually shown interest in trade affairs, and show you have interest in politics. I think, for example, I'm not that interested. I probably should be more than I already am, but I don't care what happens on the news. I don't care about the elections. I don't really look into it as much as I should, and so I probably shouldn't be voting. Right?
See, it gets to the point which is like, that's in theory a good idea, but everyone knows in reality that's going to bring the biggest uproar. Which is like, why should I have to prove myself to vote in the country that I live in?
Yeah.
Like, why would I have to prove myself to the government to prove that I can vote whoever I want in the election? Like, it's in reality that's the comeback you're gonna get.
Yeah, but who makes
like, and then if they don't pass, you take away their right to vote, and if you take away their right to vote, that's when you start losing your democracy. And who decides what the pass grade is? Because if the pass grade could be some insanely high number, and then 1% of the population get to vote, and it's just like, well, now that's great. The voting elections represent the 1% of the population.
Yeah.
And that's where the issues start rising and rising and rising, and you're just building this up and up and up, and then that's when everything just crumbles.
Yeah. I don't know. It's mad.
I think that's a good place to cut it off, though. By the way.
Okay, then we'll cut it off here. That's the Burning Numbers podcast about the coronavirus and end up on Brexit. We'll see you in the next one.